It's a very, very clean arsehole.
And this show is definitely going to need a swear filter by the end of it. Let's crack on with the show. Well, it is that time of day. Welcome to Airsoft Radio. I'm Graham, your host from Airsoft Nation, and with me, as always, is Sarah up there.
Hello.
And Jim up there. Oh. And this is Airsoft Radio, your weekly Airsoft show where we talk about all things Airsoft, whether it's news, discussions, and just general opinions. And as always, we bring a guest onto the show to get their insight and opinion and maybe some expertise on the show of choice today. We have Luke, aka Negative Airsoft, just over here.
There was way too many A's in what you just said, and you're distracting me from putting this little cunt's eyes back on. Do you mind?
I will say now, if you are listening to this live and you have children in the car nearby, within a mile radius, I would definitely consider turning off and listening later on with headphones, or catch us on the podcast, which you can find on iTunes, Stitcher, and all your favorite podcasting platforms when it's safe for work. Well, it's not safe for work. Because this show is definitely going to be a fun one for sure. And we're talking all about teching. But before we go there, how are everyone, or how is everyone, I should say?
You clearly lost the ability to talk.
this show, I will say.
Now, she's going to laugh. Watch this. Ready? 3, 2, 1. What we were discussing, right, is because everyone loves my grotty toothbrush. We were discussing what if, when it all just went live, if it was just me, I didn't know music was going to play. I don't do this stuff, right? But what if it was just me squatting up and down on the toothbrush, trying to get an effective and clean arsehole just from squats? It's good for your legs, it's good for your muscles, and you could really clean out your rectum, all right? But then we got a little bit sidetracked, and what if your balls flipped and got stuck under the vice? And you look like that little squirrel that's stuck in the feeder? Didn't fancy it, little legs in the air, that was bullshit. So instead, I put little arms. That way he seems a bit more human, and that way he can push me away if I do, stick his head up my ass.
And as you can see, we are not going to hold back from this show. Today we're talking all about teching with Luke, who is actually working.
The best thing is using King, right? Because he's got the 5-throw combo in Tekken 2, right? And then I think it went off the rails after Tekken Tag Tournament. That wasn't the best Tekken. I moved those back to Mortal Kombat at that point. Does anyone know how to get the upper off the fucking lower of one of these?
Don't ask the audience, because this could end up really badly. Opinions to yourself for now. Jim, how you been? What you been up to?
Good, mate. Good. Just spending the weekend airsofting. I actually got out to play yesterday at Imperium. Got out for the afternoon and managed to slide down some muddy banks and get completely stogged in mud, and just had a really, really good time down there. It was a wicked day. There was like 100 plus players down there, so there was plenty of people to shoot at me and get shot by. So it was good. Really busy day in the shop on Saturday. I was expecting you to pop down and you didn't. But no, it was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, he's meant to do lots of things, but he gets sidetracked putting a pole up, apparently.
Well,
it's all sidetracked with a toothbrush.
That's for later.
It's not sidetracked by a toothbrush. That is primary. Luke, is my gun done? No, because the toothbrush.
Sarah, how about yourself?
Well, I haven't been doing any airsoft because I'm a lazy fucker. But
Fair weather, softer.
Yeah, fair weather softer. I think I'll make that my motto now, you know. But I am going to be going down to the Kill House at 308 Sniper, which is open next Sunday. So
Very
I'll be
cool.
checking that out. So I've heard they've got the ATAC targets. So
Yes.
it'd be good to do a little time trial because I've never actually done one of those before. So yeah.
Well, that's very cool. Definitely the attack system's really cool. I still need to try and get down and use them. I'm hoping to borrow some for another site and have some fun with them. So they're very cool. Talking about things recently, did you all see the launch on Friday?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
Novrich obviously released his new product line for the year. I know a lot of people were kind of a little bit surprised. I know we'd spoken before. I think there was more there than expected. Luke, did you manage to see the launch or know the stuff that's come out? Is that your opinion on the situation?
Guys squatted down outside the JG factory. Is that the same thing?
Pretty much.
Now, if they were squatted down the fucking toothbrush, I'd pay attention, wouldn't I? Huh? That's worth seeing.
So yes, the AEG looks like it's Jingong, to be sure. But obviously, we did see the VSR 10 essentially upgraded, kind of. What's really quite interesting how everything has changed from the VSR is not good enough to back to the VSR again, which I know a lot of the VSR guys are really excited for. And then we've also seen that he's now taking his Mark 23 into Carbine Edition, which again, I mean, there is an element there. While we've seen it before, this will be the first time we see this kind of mass manufactured. I think this could be potentially one of the bigger sellers.
Did his Mark 23 actually come with a metal slide? Because credit where credit's due, I never bought a Mark 23 because I like the realism, and I know it's non-blowback, but I do like metal slides and shit. And I was almost tempted when I saw that it had a metal slide in it. I was actually tempted by that because that is actually a thing that I'd enjoy.
Doesn't the
KSC
one?
Just for a moment while Luke says something fucking nice about Novrich. Sorry.
Didn't the KSC one come with a metal
Yes,
slide?
it did. I'll show you one off my shelf.
Hey.
We've got a KSC. This is the 2005 version, okay, which means it's a little bit limp when it blows back, but it's rather cool. It's not non-blowback, and it's really farty. You've got to use green gas to make it work properly, and they blow up when you do. This is the KWA variant, which means it's got nasty laser edge trades on a magnesium slide. This one works a hell of a lot better. It's got the full trademarks and stuff. It does its thing. There we go. That's really cool. I like those. They're big and hefty, and I feel like Metal Gear.
I'd say that's it for everyone with the Mark 23. But I mean, a lot of people have been buying these kind of carbine kits, 3D printed kits, where this will be the first mass-produced one. So I think that one's got a lot of potential. A lot of people, I think, could buy into that. And then obviously the AEG, which a lot of people have already kind of sussed out of being JG. I think there's a lot to be said, and we'll see how the quality of that is. But I mean, the event itself looked pretty good from a professional point of view. There's definitely a lot of people there. A lot of invites went out, and they made a lot of buzz about it.
I thought it was a cookery show at first. I thought there was an oven behind it.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? I was literally looking at that going, "That's an oven in the wall."
I didn't see it because I was working. I'm a real person.
I will say. As much as it was nice to be invited, I'm kind of glad I didn't go. There was a lot of people there already covering stuff, and I think by the end of the day, I was kind of bored of seeing every single person sharing exactly the same information with each other.
So, did you see the two SSG 10s, the A1 and the A2?
Yeah, so the A1 is the VSR, isn't it, essentially?
Yeah. So that's going to be €299. So I think it's supposed to be the cheapest sniper rifle on the market.
We shall see. Upgraded, or as upgraded out the box as you're going to get.
Is So when
Don't
does
like
that
the
just
term
become
upgrade,
standard?
it's modified, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
If
Well,
it's like
exactly.
it in the box, it's not modified or it's not upgraded. That's how it comes as standard. You know? I like my car with wheels. It's been fully upgraded.
I've lowered it so I can't get over the speed bump.
That's modified though.
Upgrade is bullshit. It really is just modified. It's definitely modified. Pictures.
Well, that's it. So that is the SSG 10, as mentioned before, and I see a lot of people in the comments already use VSRs.
I've got nothing against the Bar 10. It is a good starter gun, and you can modify it in every way you would do. There's no point buying a fucking TM VSR 10 for all that money if you're going to take all that shit out of it. And let's face it, the plastic is actually better on the Bar 10. And then you move over to the SEMA versions, and the plastic again sounds really hollow, just like another gun that I've heard of. But it's still better externally looking and feeling than the TM, and it's a third of the price, and you can do everything else to it. I don't know. It's like having a really, really, really beautiful family, and then just locking them all in a box so you can't see them. That is the same effect as buying a TM gun and ripping all the guts out and replacing it, and then changing the stop in the barrel and the receiver. It's like, why have you done this? Why did you? Because it's TM's best. Oh, okay.
And I definitely want to come back to TM for sure when it comes to talking about tech and upgrades, because I think that's always an interesting conversation, how a lot of people will praise TM, and then when you find out what's actually left in there is something less to be desired, really. One thing I did spot about this, and Jim, it'd be great to get your input on this, bearing in mind being a retailer and working with other companies there, is the 25-year warranty or guarantee on parts.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this?
I'd love to see the terms and conditions. I bet there's like 50 fucking asterisks all the way across it, and one of them says "Do not use for airsoft." You know?
Yeah, Sarah's right.
It's
You
like
do
a
pay for
vortex
post and
scope.
packaging. I presume it's £55 return or something like that.
Yeah.
For that spring to be changed. But yeah, I mean, let's be fair. If he stands by it, it'll be good.
Okay,
I mean,
I'm just going to put something out there. Okay, vortex scope, £200. If it gets the lens shot out,
yep,
they'll replace it for free. You've just got to send it back to America, which costs money and might not turn up. Right? They've also got UK dealers that will take it back in and send it for you. Yada yada yada. But then you've got the red dot sights. Some of that £400 or £500 for these sights. And if you get shot out playing airsoft, then they will send you another one. That's a really good deal. It's a lifetime warranty. How many times are you going to get that thing shot out? You know, when you can buy a knockoff for £50.
and
what if the
cheaper.
company goes out of business? And it's like, no, you have to buy a vortex because you can see 3.5 miles with it. Cool. Thanks for that great warranty when I could literally just go and spend £10 on a dot sight.
There is something to say. I will
Yes,
say I haven't got a vortex. I haven't got a vortex. But they are always so much clearer from a quality of vision point of view. But I don't have one because spending that much money, like you say, I could probably buy 10 knockoff sites or whatnot for the same price and have a wide variety.
And you don't want to have to bother having to send it off when it gets broken, so you ruin that crystal clear optic by putting fucking mesh on the front. You know?
And I haven't had any shot out, even at the mall. And I already thought some of the CQB, especially at the mall, for example, it bounced around, but nothing actually has ever smashed any of my scopes, fortunately.
I had one torch shot out, and that was it. But they get people who put the torch on the floor in the security room corridor, and people are like, "Oh, we'll just shoot his torch." And we're sat there, "Don't shoot his torch. That's so cuntish. Don't shoot his torch." But in the back of your mind, you're like, "I'd totally be shooting that torch, man." And they get the torch shot out, and they go, "Marshall, we think that player should pay for my broken torch."
It's
I'm
alright,
sure that's the
I've got
first thing
my
that's through your mind when you put it on the fucking floor.
Jim, have you lost a lot of sights over the years? Obviously, you've been playing for a while
No,
now.
I've only broken one in the 15 years I've been playing. And it was a really nice one, and it lasted me 15 years, and I was a bit upset about it. But, I mean, I will defend the Vortex thing because they are just better quality products than the cheap shit you get off AliExpress.
Oh, you totally sell Vortex, don't you?
Yeah, and there's a reason why, because it's fucking awesome, you know. and I hate it when people are like, "Oh no, you got to buy cheap."
Can of worms. I've kept it here somewhere.
You've got to buy cheap because it's better, and it's like, no, you haven't, because I've had shit turn up from AliExpress that's wank as fuck. You know, that doesn't have a red dot in it, it has a fucking red solar flare in it. You know, and it's like, well, that was a waste of a tenner. You know, that's like wanking into a condom. You know, it's fucking shit. So, whereas Vortex, I just wish I could.
Yeah, but you can
buy
wank
more
into
of them.
that condom 20 fucking times.
Not in a row. There'd be dust coming out at the end of that.
That's because of your age, mate. If you cleaned it more often, there'd be less fucking residue coming off during the spring.
Oh, I doubt it. But yeah, so yeah, like I say, but as far as the Novrich warranty thing goes, it's like, yeah, all right. How many of the Novrich little fucking band of followers are actually going to still be playing Airsoft 25 years later? I'm sure they'll have got pubes by
It's
then.
fine when it's a Vortex gun that I sell. No one else can do it.
Because I'm happy that Leatherman do a 25-year warranty, but I'm likely to break a Leatherman and want to fucking take that back.
That's that noise, children. That is the hypocrite brain. I hope you
Oh, well, we can't all have a fucking mobile, can we? Trendy. Oh, Negative Airsoft. Oh, I'm the only one that's allowed to be sardonic and dark. Oh.
I'm wearing a Westernham's Master Race t-shirt. You got fuck all, mate.
I know. I'm just a sellout. You know? Corporate fucking sellout.
You're off. I've forgotten your name already, but from now on, you're the Offspring. All right, I'm just saying. What's worse than the Offspring? Gwen fucking Stefani. How could she go? No doubt.
Didn't even make Sum 41. Dear Lord.
Right. Let's easy time. Right? Because
bucket of worms again.
Oh fucking hell!
I'll get a bucket of fucks next.
Perhaps if you went home before fucking midnight, you wouldn't have a bucket. Now, what I was going to say was, I went to I saw Sum 41 at Reading Festival when when it was good, and we saw it as fucking Metallica and System and things like that. And Sum 41 were there, and I don't really care much about Sum 41, but they did say something that has never fucking left me, and that is, you guys out there, do what you want. Whatever you want, do what you want that makes you happy and that you have fun. But make sure you don't hurt anybody else or yourself. And I've never forgot they said that, because that applies to everything you do in life, and it certainly fucking applies to Airsoft this week, doesn't it? And we're only in fucking Monday.
I was going to say, you're a professional at this, because that's a really good segue to what came out this morning / last night. Was
not buying a Vortex.
That's right. I put some thought into your show.
Hypocrite training.
So, if you are watching live right now, we will play the video or the replay. If you're watching on the podcast, there will definitely be a link.
Show it.
Yes, I am going to show it. So there will be a link in the description, just purely for context here. So this came out yesterday or last night, and what you kind of see essentially 4 people's point of view here, where they essentially go all in on a guy with rather high rate of fires, and the guy essentially does push down one of the shooters, who are definitely kids at this. And the whole situation escalates. A lot of people get involved. The people doing the shooting are, let's just say, they're Speedsofters. Not to say that it's all them, but essentially that's the type of backlash that we're seeing here, and there's a lot of them just basically launching into this guy. It escalates. The marshal takes one off the site, and the player that started it all to begin with actually decides to put another mag in as he's going to the safe zone and shoot the marshal as he's being dragged or taken out of the safe zone or to the safe zone. Now, we've all seen this. Before we kind of talk about the tech side of it, what's everyone's opinion of it? Luke, I'll let you go first because I know we had this chat
Yeah,
before.
It's simple. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I don't like the approach of airsoft in the way that all that went down. It's wrong on every level that people they think they can actually treat other people like that, because you can't. That is not how you treat other people. And I've got a thing about doing DSG builds, and I don't touch HPA because I don't have the equipment. I don't use it. But there is something to be said for a reason why you have a high rate of fire build like that. And they started off with, I did a DSG build for somebody recently.
Sorry, just because we do get a lot of new players listening to it, do you want to explain what a DSG build is?
Dual sector gear. So if you imagine it's a piece of pasta, it's that one. And basically it means for every time your gun cycles, it's actually cycling twice. So you put a bigger spring in there and you get more rounds coming out your gun. And that gives you a much better trigger response. And they were first invented so that you could try and compete with the people with what you had. So back in the day, when RC users, they knew all about lipos, and we had no clue because we're airsofters and we stay in our little boxes. We didn't use lipos, we had nimmies. And we had NICADs, and we had to try and find a way to fit a big fucking battery into a little tiny gun. And the best way we could do that was by using a dual sector gear, which means that you could run 8.4 NIMI inside your gun and get a really decent semi-auto rate of fire. And obviously that's great because the DSG they built for the guy, basically his other half won't let him have lipos in the house because they had a fire, basically, in the garage. So he said, I need a gun that I play loads of CQB. I need to be able to compete. What can you do? And I said, I can do a DSG build. You can use your 8.4 volt NIMI. It's in a P90. We'll get it inside, and you'll be able to have that nice trigger response and be able to keep up with people that are using, big old fucking batteries. And that's why I did it. And it was the right thing for that gun for that person. Now, somebody said earlier on, it was, how many times can you pull your trigger in semi-auto in a minute? That's realistically what your rate of fire should be. And that's a really fair comment, because just because you can doesn't mean you should. And this is no disrespect to the people that are really good at DSG builds, because the guys that I know that do DSG builds, they seem to work. They seem to work reasonably reliably. Everything seems fine. And when I've seen videos that they've put up of them playing, they really are being polite and they're using the guns in semi-auto, But it's also like giving a retard a fucking shotgun. You can't just give somebody something. Can I have a DSG build that's 50 rounds a second? Yeah, fine, off you go, mate. And it's really bad. You can't just give that kind of power to somebody, because the personality of that person might not suit that gun, and it's not on. And there are people. It doesn't sit well with me, because if you go to YouTube and type DSG justice, all you've got is people hosing the fuck out of people, literally for no reason, when they're there for the same time and having fun as you. And it's a respect for all kind of thing. You've got people, when you go and play airsoft, you should be respectful and mindful of everyone around you. I've got a big mouth. I like to say things to make people laugh, but I never mean to cause offense. So when I play airsoft, I play stupid. That's how I play. And, to go out there and intentionally put 30, 40 rounds into somebody a second, that's not fun, man. That's not fun. And this whole situation reeks. It reeks, because the way they're treating people is wrong. And I said it earlier on, I made a point of saying it recently, and that is, who likes really fast cars? Well, everyone who drives a car likes a fast car. You don't want to drive a crap car, you have a good car. So do you like it when it's a modified car? Yeah, of course you do. And so everyone gets in the car, you have a great time, and you drive really fast. Maybe a bit too fast than you're meant to. You drive a bit fast. It's a modified car. Who's having fun? Lots of people. If you're driving around with other people, you meet up in car parks. As long as you behave yourself and respectful to everybody else, you can have a good time. But then, who likes it when the little chavs get in their cars at fucking 3 a.m. and they're driving their souped up little cars with ganja weed, fucking smoke blaring out the fucking windows, loads of loud music playing, little wanker lights, so they fucking donut around in your council estate? Who likes that? Who's having fun? And it really is the only people in that car are the people having fun. And the people who are using the DSG builds, the high-speed builds properly, are respecting everybody else. But there's that small element of people who they will take that ideal, well, I've got a mega fast gun, watch what it can do, look how clever I am. And that is what it is, you know. And you get people turning up to airsoft sites after running their mouths the night before, and I've had it in my sites. They run their mouths on the internet the night before, and everyone on site the next day has seen it. They've seen these fucking comments. Man, we're gonna fucking razz them. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna fuck them up. Don't know what happened, you know. And people instantly get this image in their mind. Wow, these guys. We saw their comments. We looked at their Facebook profile, and we can see what they're wearing, and they suit this stylized airsoft type that we've created in our mind.
Yeah.
They fit straight into that, and already they're planning to cause havoc before they arrive. And when they arrive, people see them and they go, "Yeah, that's how I expected them to look." And instantly, there's a problem. There's instantly a problem just because of how they acted the night before in some random comments, bit of banter, whatever. And anyone who suits that look or that style is then tarred with that brush.
Yes.
And you've got airsoft players who have been Speedsoft players forever. Before Speedsoft was even a thing, you know, they'd have an HPA engine inside their gun, and they wouldn't be wearing any real kit. They're just wearing their joggies or something. But that's their gun. They played respectfully. If those guys turned up to a site now, people were like, Speedsofters, they're wankers. And it's like, that's not how they all are. It really isn't how they all are. But, you know, it is the attitude that is given. And here's the thing. Do you know where I very first saw a DSG Justice video? The very first place I saw it was somebody posting it up on Worldstar Hip Hop. And I was like, DSG Justice? That's do with airsoft. I looked at it, and it was just some kids really getting arsey with somebody and hosing them up. And I was like, wow, that's really fucking harsh. And then it became a thing, and it's everywhere. And I was like, wow, this is growing. DSG Justice is growing. And it causes you to dislike a type of person that you probably already know. And it causes you to dislike somebody for the way they look. You know, it is this many people ruining it for this many people. And that's not on. It's not on. And why shouldn't somebody get to wear a Di-4? Why shouldn't somebody get to wear, you know, use a DSG little tiny ARP9 thing with a gold match high capper?
I was going to say
they're having fun. But it depends on that person. But because of the ideals and put in the head of other people by idiots, it creates a bad image in your head. And that's wrong, you know? And these kids have gone all out to prove exactly what people are thinking of that stereotype. They've done nobody any favors. Nobody. And all it takes is that shit to happen in the UK, where generally, in my opinion, people are more polite to each other at airsoft sites. If that shit happened in the UK, it'd be a much bigger thing, a huge thing. And it's something that could very well get to airsoft taken away from us. Because imagine someone loses their iPro. I know everyone there is wearing full face in that video, but obviously we've seen it all the time. When I'm out there and I'm marshalling and working, I've got my iPro on, but I'm not covering my face because I'm lippy and I'm rude. But I'm doing it and it's banter and it's funny. They've got to see my face. They've got to see that I'm being nice. I'm just lippy because it's funny and I'm trying to be friendly. So I have to keep my face out because of my personality. If someone did that to me and I flipped my head, my iPro came off, that's it. Totally blind, no teeth. That's it.
Well, we've seen this before in suicide runs and birthday runs where we've seen people run and get absolutely hosed by people. Agree to it. But the problem we had, like we've seen before, is a few people lose an iPro while they're running, or they've been hit enough times that the iPro shifted up. The fact we don't use full face is also a problem. Sarah, I'll throw this over to you then. What was your thoughts on the situation from what you've seen so far? And how do you think that does potentially affect kind of that Speedsoft appearance or mentality?
Well, is it just Speedsoft? Because I've seen videos like that when I first started playing airsoft. It was some of the first videos I found, and I didn't realize that it was a DSG until yesterday. I didn't even know what a DSG was. I didn't know what HPA was. I assumed that was the attitude of certain people who go into airsoft, and I've seen that sort of aggression in several different videos, not just using HPA or DSG. So really, is it down to the player, or does the gun make the aggression? I don't know. Is it the attitude? Is it at the end of the day? Is
every single pit bull a violent dog? You know, is every single pit bull? You see a pit bull, oh, they're dangerous dogs. No, they're not. That's absolute nonsense. You know, it is the person who makes a decision. I am not responsible for what anyone else does. All I can do is clean up the aftermath. I'm not responsible for their actions. But I am. You know?
Jim,
And we all are.
you've mentioned in the past about responsibilities of the shooter. And this has come up several times
I
here.
fucking know about it.
So come on, I mean, on a serious one here, what's your thoughts on this? As someone who you've been at plenty of sites.
Someone stuck in the comments the "you burned my patch" thing, and obviously that was the last video that we saw that was this sort of behaviour, and it was again the same sort of age group of kids, which to me the bigger question is maturity, and are some of these people mature enough to be playing the sport or game, however you want to look at it. I think that if it was up to me, it'd be over 18s only, but that's just the way I am. I think there's plenty out there for youngsters to play, to aspire to them playing airsoft, hopefully when they've got a little bit more maturity about them, because it is in some ways a lot more dangerous than some of the other sort of games out there. And that's not saying everyone under the age of 18 isn't mature enough. I'm not saying that, because there are probably plenty that are, but again, there's plenty of that age group that aren't and shouldn't be playing. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, why are their parents not there, watching what they're doing? I guarantee if their parents were sitting in that or the other side of that netting, there'd be a totally different fucking story. Well, potentially. I mean,
Skylar, are you sure?
I'll be honest. If you're a parent and you've probably, let's be fair, most of these parents have definitely bought these kids those rifles, Polar Star setups, HPA setups, anything like that. It's not a cheap setup,
And shops have sold them to them as well. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, when you start talking about responsibility, it's like, again, you don't buy your first car and then go into a Ferrari dealership and just walk out with one. I mean, there probably are kids that do that in America and around the world that have got enough money to do it, and they're probably the same ones that write it off driving it down the road. But it's one of those things where you can't. It's a really difficult thing to police. I think the site in that video handled it about as well as could have been handled.
Yeah, it's chaotic, isn't it? At the end of the day, there's no real right answer.
A few people have said, "Oh, that's terrible." They've got no control of the situation. It's like, okay, well, you've got 4 or 5 kids, is what I think it was, 4 or 5 kids, who are all pumping in 30, 40 rounds a second at people, and you are trying your best to stop from everyone else to get. You don't want everyone else to get hurt. So what can you do? In my situation, if that happened, I would be calling weapons down. They ain't putting their weapons down. What do you do? It's hard, and unfortunately, the outcome is that the person who got shot at tackled that kid. Well, if he felt that he was in danger, tackle the kid.
Well, I mean, if it was up to me, all of them would have been off. Because that guy included, because he should have been. And this may be the pot calling the kettle black, because I have lost my shit at games before.
I mean, we've all lost our shit at games, and we all think about that, don't we?
Yeah, and
not me, I'm perfect.
And everyone's in the wrong at that point. And I think there's one interesting bit in the video where the guy who, I don't know if it's actually his site or if he's just like the head marshal there or something, and he's like, I've already had to speak to you once today. And it's just sort of like, well, at that point, maybe was letting him play a second time too much. I mean, I remember like I'd go to sites and players would get sim binned out of games if they were getting a little bit heated and a little bit kind of, things were going that way. The marshals would do things like that. I don't see that at sites as much, if at all, anymore. When things do get a bit.
Speaking as a manager of the mall, I can guarantee you that we only kicked out nice people, and if you are misbehaving, then we let you do whatever you want. No, sin binning is a way you get people out and you sit them down and keep them out, because once they're calm, they change their minds. It's worse when you have people. I'm glad we're talking about tech work, by the way. It's better when you've got you get the mate come over and go, "Oh, it's his birthday though. He's had this thing happen. It's not fair." Your friend's being a weenie, so you're not helping. You're not helping. And there are times when we've had aggressive players and people have lost their shit. And then you take them out the game, and I've had a friend come over and say, "Well, it's our fault." And we've gone, "Why?" And he said, "Well, this terrible thing, I can't give the full details, this terrible thing happened only a couple of days ago, and we thought we'd try and take his mind off of it. And he told us last night he's not feeling it, he doesn't want to go. And we still brought him, and we are not surprised that he's lost his shit. So we're all going to go. Don't blame him, blame us." And I was like, that's really fair. That's friends. That's fair. In this case, That ain't the case, because you've got those two kids who go,
Do it again. They're whispering.
do it
now.
again.
Yeah.
I think the fact he keeps trying to reload, and it's like, sorry, no.
Well, you can see one of the kids actually sort of starts the altercation by shooting the guy at the back of the head, blaming it on his mate, which is the sort of shit you did when you were at school.
What a friend's for. It wasn't me, it was Derek.
But the other thing is, I mean, that guy took one
escalated,
shot with a shotgun. His mate could have gone, he knew he didn't do it, but he knew it was one of his mates. Gone, fair play, done. Instead, you get to that point where they are kids, they're immature. They probably shouldn't be, allowed to play airsoft like that with builds like that because of a situation where his immediate reaction.
The same.
Oh, 100%, yeah. But the immediate reaction.
Players and kids are my favourite players, because you tell a younger teenager the rules of the game with their rental gun, and they go, "Oh, if I don't follow the rules, I might get in trouble. I better follow the rules." You turn to a 35-year-old guy who's got all his own kit, and you say, "Right, these are the rules." You can see in the back of his mind, he's like, "Fuck off, mate! I'm 35." Just follow rules. So, I think it's more of a case of, perhaps those kids are just wankers.
Well,
we're seeing it more. I think that the issue is, though, YouTube does help glorify this, and when videos like these end up going on Lad Bible and stuff like that, and it ends up getting out there to a much wider audience than just sort of like a few of the groups and what have you. Is it encouraging more little kids to act like wankers? Would be my argument, and so therefore again, we should be policing it a little bit better. But
there was a video, I want to say it was probably about 18 months ago, that I shared when it was a site in America. It was HSP, if I remember correctly, banned HPA, and it came after that. I want to say it was Team Citadel or Team Citizen released a video where it was essentially them hosing people like crazy.
See, this is what I don't get. Why blame the equipment? Surely it's the attitude of the player.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But if the players don't have access to it, then they can't do it. So let's all just ban all the restaurants. We'll only have Taco Bell. There's no breathing. Name the film.
Demolition Man. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I just want 3 seashells to be replacing your toothbrush.
Okay, so swinging this round to tech work. Hence, this was the topic of the show. It's what Luke's doing right now.
Which I'm getting none done, by the way. I'm getting none done. I'm staring at this gearbox like I'm just listening to things. Nothing's happening.
Good. That's what we want. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah,
should in the UK, and we use the UK because we're not can't suggest stuff worldwide. And I know America playstyle definitely seems a lot more higher FPS, higher rate of fire. Should we generally have these kind of rate of fire limits? Is it something that everyone here would be on board with? Is it something that should be kind of universal, or should it be?
No, because going back to what I said about the car full of drugged up chavs. You've got HPA users and DSG users and Speedsofters who have a fucking great time shooting at each other. And you get the milsim guys have a great time shooting at each other. They don't do. They stand around a piece of cardboard as like a helicopter. They're not actually playing airsoft. It's fucking cosplay. But they are still engaging in the sport in the way they want to engage in it. And if we take away your high rate of fire guns, we are then taking away the ability for the people that really do have a high rate of fire gun that only use it in semi, legitimately locked to semi. We're taking that away from them. And if we start putting those kind of sanctions on, where are we going to end up? I think it's down to the site and their particular rules. And if we try and say, you can't have this rate of fire, you can't have this, you can't have that, it's going to start getting awkward. There are some sites that say you must have a mechanical lock on your DMR. There are some sites that say, no, if it's electronically blocked by MOSFET, that is fine. There are some sites that say, which I can't believe it, but I've seen it, and that is, if your gun is not semi-auto only in real life, you can't bring it here in semi-auto. And it's like, okay, that's their site rules, it's fine. And I think it needs to be addressed as site rules, depending on that particular game, depending on the style of that weekend, that event, whatever, but it needs to be let known. Obviously, I wouldn't like it if I were running a milsim event where the guys turn up with guns that are putting out 80 rounds a second, because firstly, they're going to have ammo really quickly and they'll have fun. That's a thing. We're thinking about their fun as well, but we're thinking about the people who are going to go, well, I turned up to have a bit of a camp, and not that kind. To have a bit of a get a barbecue going and go out, do a bit of missions, have some fun with my friends, sit around, not play any airsoft, have a giggle, and suddenly while they're sleeping, somebody creeps up and puts fucking 80 rounds in their face. It has to be the right event for the right people. And the people attending need to be respectful of the way the event should be running. So if you are running a high-speed setup as a Speedsofter, and you go to an event where most people are not doing that, perhaps you should abide by their rules. But if you are a hardcore milsim, that's how you normally play, and you turn to a site that is indoor CQB and it's a fast-paced game, shut the fuck up. Stop moaning about people playing too hard and too fast who have outmaneuvered you. Shush. Because it does go both ways. This is for everyone. It's not just for you and me. It is for everyone. Let's try and fit in everyone.
If you're saying it's for everyone, Jim, we've always had this discussion about people doing these upgrades just to kind of give them the edge over other players. Say this game was a normal skirmish, don't you think that itself would say, okay, because it is a skirmish, that itself is a set of gameplay or game rules where they should be a rate of fire limit?
Well, I think the cat's out of the bag, though, isn't it? Because those guns are already here, and it's a lot harder to take. The tools to deal with that now are either site enforces mag capacity limits, which I've got no dramas with. Like I joked last week that if 250 round mid caps replaced high caps, I would be a lot happier. However, that's not going to happen. It's just the way of things. And people, I mean, those kids in that video, again, they were more interested in mag dumping, and you see them winding their high cap mags and all that sort of stuff. And whether it's 1 BB or 100 BBs, if you're being a dick with it, it's going to hurt no matter what.
Yeah.
Are they heavyweight BBs as well? I mean, I have a bit of a triggered issue at the moment about heavyweight BBs. I mean, do we really need to be running .45s at sites where you haven't got huge range and you're not? It's not for bolt action snipers and it's not for all these other things, but everyone's putting .45s in their pistols and shit like that. And it's just like, you've got no edge using .45s. Just because you read it on the fucking internet doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it works. That's like every person that ever turns around and says, yeah, I've had a 100-meter shot in airsoft. It's like, fuck you. No, you haven't. Utter bullshit. You can't lob a BB that far. This comes down to what people see. They see the videos that go up by people. They get shared around by Lad Bible, like you said, and they're watching somebody who is not in the UK using a gun that is not UK spec, and they are going to get more range. If their bolt-action rifles doing 650 feet per second, they're going to be able to push a 5. They're going to be able to push it further. In the UK, it's plausible. It's plausible. But I've yet to see it personally. I've seen some cracking shots, and I've seen a hell of a lot of Luke, loads of it. And the way that this is why I try and I'm in a position where I get to tell people how, I'm going to put it back to teching, how the best way for a UK gun to work. And that is, I've watched loads of videos of how loads of American guys and guys from Europe, they run 400, 450 feet per second in full auto. And I'm thinking, their guns are pretty optimized for that. That's really good. Now, we don't need that. We need DMR power. Some sites are 400, 420, 425, 450. Some sites allow 500, but generally speaking, 425 to 450, I think, is the way DMR runs. Now, that is basically the same power that a hell of a lot of countries run their full auto guns. Now, we don't need to make our DMRs and bolt actions, but let's stick with DMR for the purpose. We don't need to make the DMRs in all these little fussy things they do and the little tweaks they make to make it do 500, 550, 600 feet per second. We don't need to do that because we are making it optimized in the same way they're making their full auto guns run at 450 feet per second. That is optimized right there. And they're getting the best range and best accuracy. All we need to do is lock it to semi. So when I do DMR builds with people, I try and explain that to them. With the power limits we've got and the joules that we have and the way it all works out right now, there's not a lot of point using any more than 3.2 or 3.6. There really isn't. I'm not saying the gun can't do it,
I did a G&G gun for somebody. It was his sight limit is 500 on for DMRs, and he had a gun that was doing like fucking 480 or something. But then I did a wide bore setup for him with the maple leaf rubber and the max hop unit, and it was one of the very first ones I did. And the power dropped like 396 or something. I was like, oh bollocks, you know. And then I watched this BB, this 0.45, I think it was, literally go poof, and off it went. And I was like, shit, it's still going. And it kept going and going and going. I was like, holy shit.
This is my argument.
That's immense. But generally speaking, the DMR setup, we need to make it the same spec as a lot of countries have their full auto guns and lock it to semi. Because there's only so far you can push that BB of that weight, of that power, you know, without causing catastrophic failure to your gun, unless you are willing to sit and tech your own gun for hours and hours and hours. If someone else is building it for you, let's go sensible, you know, because that person doesn't want to put their career on the line. That person doesn't put their reputation on the line, and you don't want a gun that's going to shit itself in a second if you fucking spam the trigger too much. Let's be sensible. And luckily in the UK, we get to be sensible because we've got 400 to 450, generally speaking, on DMRs. So why are we doing everything we need to do and pushing the envelope so hard on every upgrade? And realistically, a fucking SEMA P90 comes out of the box doing 426 feet per second, and it's snappy as shit, you know? And you're still struggling to make this one M4 do 400 snapping. You're like, why are you not doing it, you bastard? But the P90 straight from fucking Taiwan going, zip, 426 feet per second. The full also goes, how is this little gun doing this? How is it doing this with its fucking plastic? How? And you scream at the gun and you stab it and punch it, and it won't tell you. Tight mouth little bastard. So we need to look into what's best for the customer in terms of building best for that customer. You don't need to go all out. You don't need to. We're in the wrong country for that. We get to go cheaper because we do.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, carry on.
Go on, Sarah, are you
I'll keep talking if you want me to.
No, you could, Sarah, jump in.
Oh, I got lost somewhere in the middle there. It was like so much tech information coming at me. I'm like, wow. But no,
the idiot with the mohawk who's got a really big mouth keeps talking, and he notices when people are being silent, and it makes him nervous, and he'll keep talking, and the lips will keep going, and at some point someone else have to step in because he'll keep fucking talking.
Well, no, I was actually going to ask you some basic sort of tech questions that maybe some of the viewers might be interested in.
According to the internet, my tech work is very basic, so go ahead.
So going back to, say, before we had the world of YouTube and information on the internet, how did people learn about teching guns? Or did they always go to a professional?
Who remembers the first gun they ever built? Like the first gun they've gone, I'm going to build this thing and it's going to be amazing. And at the time you loved it and you were proud of it, and everyone else knew it was total fuck. And that is all of us who've ever fucking put a screwdriver to any airsoft gun ever. Mine was an MP5A5 by TM, and I literally changed every internal, every external, £200 for a fucking mosquito molds. This gun was like $1,500 for a fucking TM MP5. And when you pull the trigger, it's like semi-auto. It's like a proton pack powering up. And the BB go, off it went. Yay! It fucking fired. Good enough for me. I had to learn by breaking everything. I think that's the way most people do it. You see people saying, hi, I want to build a new airsoft gun. I want to learn how to tech. Who wants to sell me or give me some broken guns to work on? That's the worst way to do it. You want to have a gun that is brand new, that you know works, so you can take it apart and put it back together again. And is it working? Is it still working the same? Is the power still the same? Is everything the same? Is it? Yes, it is. Good start. Good fucking start. Everything I touched, I was buying experimental guns, broken guns. Oh, God. Everything I bought was dodgy old shit. You know, £20 for an old FAMAS from the fucking airsoft site I was working at. Or £30 for a fucking experimental AK or something. And after 3 or 4 weeks of me literally trying to spend no money on it, I finally make it look good, but it fires worse than it started. And the internet's going to say, that's negative airsoft, no more gun. Fuck off. And if you want to start doing it, buy a new gun. Don't buy secondhand. Buy a brand new gun. Buy it cheap. What a fucking Seamer's like £85 for a really cheap one. Get one of them, take it apart, put it back together, and buy a chrono. Don't buy webbing. You don't need more gear. You need a chrono. All right? Please buy a chrono because, well, I know the power's really fucking low. Your chrono's wrong. What were you testing on? Coke can or my fence? I could feel when the baby bounced back and hit me in the face or hit my dog or hit my nan. I knew that it was more powerful the first time I did it. Your guns are shit and your chrono's wrong.
The Coke can test was amazing. That was always the go-to. 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. Always the Coke can test 10, 15 years ago.
I shoot through Polish beer cans.
Go for it.
So say you did want to start doing your own teching. What's the best equipment to start with? Say a basic kit for teching. Literally that.
An electric screwdriver. Honestly,
literally just that, or
rubber mallet to start with. Come on now, you can't go straight in there. Electric screwdriver, because when you're using, I'm sitting there with screwdrivers and little toolkits like this, and you're sitting there, it takes forever to put the screws in, and you're rounding them out because you're not in this. It's really fucking frustrating, and it takes forever to get the gun back together. And when it finally does, you know it's not going to work because it's your first time. If you've got an electric screwdriver, it frees the whole thing up. And as long as you're careful with it, look at that. And in they go. You'll wreck the fucking threads on the screw. Not if you're not a fucking mental person, you won't. All right, there it goes. Electric screwdriver. Seriously, it speeds up your task. It becomes less frustrating if you've got an electronic screwdriver. And obviously, everything's MOSFETs now. Buy a really good soldering iron. Buy a decent soldering iron. If you've got to plug it into the wall and it's $7.99, you don't want it. You want to spend 40, 50, 60 quid on a decent soldering iron, and then you can learn how to solder properly. I couldn't solder for most of my life because I didn't have the right stuff. And now I know how to solder. And what I do is, this is hilarious, watch the internet fucking turn alive, right? If I want to put Dean's connectors on, you see the little guys, the crocodile clips and the little helping hands, they're really flimsy and they fall over. Here's what I do. If I want to put a Dean's connector on something, I stack them up, Dean's, and I put them in the vise. That way, it's perfectly held, it's completely solid, and when I want to fucking solder things, I just go over to it, and it's perfectly held. And I've got one hand free for the wire, wearing a glove so I don't burn myself, complete control, zip, done, nice and easy. Then you put your solder down, like your solder, and you put your soldering iron down and try not to burn your face off with it, which, my favourite thing, I do all the time. Oh, I dropped the wire, like that. You turn around, you fucking burn your clothes. I can't tell you the amount of times cunt! Dickhead! Editing that out of the video, the amount of times I've done that. But no, have whatever you're soldering really stable, buy yourself a decent soldering iron, electric screwdriver, and that's basically it. Allen key sets, fuck them off. Just buy some decent Allen key fucking heads for your screwdriver. That's it. Then you can speed up the time it takes to do things. That way you know it doesn't work. It's because you're shit, not the fucking things you're using. It's definitely you fucking it up. It's no one else's fault. You can't blame the tools because you've got the best stuff. It's just you. You're a cunt. You should probably fucking sit down and play Fortnite.
Okay, question here. And Jim, I'll grab you on this one as well. In the industry, there's no tech courses. There's no real kind of certification or proof beyond word of mouth, reputation, and just plain experience. Now, Jim, am I right in saying you've been on the ASG tech course?
No, I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go. Okay, I was going to say.
No, we had guys in the shop go, but I didn't go. No. So.
Do you think, again, you've not done it yourself, but do you think something like that's worthwhile? Is it something in terms of, as an industry, it'd be good to see? Or is it just a case, this is a hobby, it's a hobby industry for a lot of people, and it is, work on it, fix it, fuck a few up in between, as long as they're not your own, and go from there?
I know, because it's two different arguments, really, because if you're talking about should average player get to go and do one of those courses and everything, I'd probably say no. It's probably not worthwhile for the company to put that on. They'd be better off doing YouTube videos for people to follow and things like that if they were going to go down that road, which some do. You see some of that stuff. But in terms of if you're a retailer stocking a company's products and they offer you a chance to go to their to their factory or to their tech department and go and do a course on how to maintain those products, and common fault find, things like that, then yeah, it's a really good thing to do. You'd be silly as a business not to go and do it. Would
you like to see more of them from even more manufacturers, like an actual kind of setup?
There is always that, like, a version 2 gearbox is a version 2 gearbox. How many, if you can do one, you can do them all. But again, I mean, if companies are prepared to do it, and I would really like to see more companies do it, then yeah, it's a good thing. Like, especially if you're someone that wants to be a career gun tech, then you should never stop wanting to learn stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what I want to do with my life, but I learned to the point of where I was happy getting to, and then it was just like, anything else, I'll just pay someone else to go and do, or I'll buy it out of the box that way. I'm not really that interested in sort of creating one of these ultimate builds, because I'm shooting a 6mm BB at a target that's maybe 30 meters away at best. And if I can't hit them, then I shouldn't be doing it. So. But
go on. I was going to say, go on.
I forgot what I was going to say now. Can't be asked.
I was just going to grab Luke's opinion on there as well, because I'm sure he's got an opinion on this.
Nah.
No. Courses.
You can either paint or you can't. You can either draw or you can't. I had guitar lessons for years, and they helped me not a bit. I was still a shit guitarist. And in the end, I had to sit down on my own and figure out what technique was best for me. And so in terms of guitar, I can't name the chords. I don't know the names of guitars, and I can't tune them without an electronic thing happening. But I can play it to the point where I can play Cradle of Filth all the way through, and I'm happy. And I've gone, that sounds all right. No one could teach me how to do that. No one was able to teach me how to do that. I had to figure it out for myself. You can either do it or you can't. Some people, like there are people who try to explain to me how a computer works and why I've got to stop hitting it. And it won't ever go in because I don't care and because I don't want to know, but because it's computer shit and I don't understand. You have to find a way. There's only one person ever who's managed to explain to me how to do something on a computer and the information's stuck, because they explained it to me in the right way. But generally speaking, when I learn something, it's because I've practiced myself and I've broken loads of shit in the process. And I need to know, what can I do to make sure that fuck up doesn't happen again? Because now I'm going to go buy more shit. And obviously now airsoft parts are free and easy and really cheap. Back in the day, if you wanted to make your gun do 328, you're spending 200 quid on a fucking system or FTK. It's expensive. You daren't fuck it up. And you've got to be relaxed when you do it. If I'm in a bad mood, I better not touch anything because I won't do the job properly. I will make mistakes and something's going to get broken and I'll have to fucking buy a new part for somebody else. So you do it when you're calm. Anyone who's done tech stuff knows full well how fucking calm you are when you're doing it. You want to literally bite the corners off your table and go outside and just wave your dick at the traffic because you're so frustrated at how this thing is not going back together. And you're going back and watch a YouTube video and the guy goes, this is how you do it. And it just fucking happens. And you go, oh, fuck you. And it makes you feel even worse.
Yes.
You've just got to keep breaking things and find your own way with an electric screwdriver. Class Olson, $5.99. Fuck your Vortex sales. Class Olson, $5.99.
I've had a question coming from a site owner.
Huh?
I've had a question coming from a site owner. And maybe you'll need to explain the technical side behind it.
Oh, it's because they're all
they want they want an opinion on binary triggers and the use of them on site. So at this point, I presume they've had a case in the past.
Make it appropriate that I'll get in trouble for.
And so, do you want to start with explaining what a binary trigger is for people, and then have the discussion of their use on sites?
It's when you put two fingers in and go like that. There is a thing happening now with new MOSFETs where you pull the trigger, it fires, you release, and it fires. That is my understanding of a binary trigger. I don't fit internal MOSFETs because they're cuntish. But that's it. Dip, 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 dip. And it gives the ability to put your finger in the trigger guard and go, extra wanker. It's an extra wanker upgrade. And yeah, you know, if your gun's pretty fast, the people who want that are the people who want to be able to overkill, in my opinion, because you're not thinking in a way that is going to be pleasant to other people. It's not something I would fit for somebody else, because first things first, all these Bluetooth MOSFETs and internal MOSFETs, and you've got to plug your fucking gun into the computer. I mean, do you want Terminators? Is that what you want? Because that's how you get fucking Terminators. I need the internet and Bluetooth to make my gun work, but it's okay because I can put 2 fingers in and go, fucking that. Give it fucking not long. We'll replace the motor so you can get a fucking thumb in there as well and be all, oh, she fucking loves it.
So do you kind of put it down to the same thing as kind of the paddle triggers in the paintball scene, where a lot of them have kind of said, we're not having these on site. It's not fair. It's not it is purely there for an advantage.
Somebody
against
will find
other
a new way to fuck it up. You know, no one, how can I put it in the best way I can? At some point, somebody woke up in the middle of the night and went, I'm going to put my paintballs in the freezer. What a cuntish move!
I got hit by one of those.
What of this? There's always going to be somebody pushing that envelope, and I think binary triggers the way it goes. But again, the people who want to use binary triggers, if they want to use them against other people using them, they're not going to mind. They never mind. Speedsofters don't complain about the Speedsofters because they're playing the same sport and they're having a bloody good time. So do you know what? Let them do it. That's fine. You know, if you're looking after your site properly, they're not going to get hurt. You know, but horses for courses. Make sure the right people are doing the right thing at the right time, and a decent, respectful player won't deliberately go out to upset other players. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. You know? Right. Oh, I think the day I find one, the TM recoil, the day I top myself with a LiPo cord. Yep. That is the best comment I've seen in a long time. Eagle 6, I salute you. That was fantastic.
In terms of like tech words, I keep hearing the word shimming. So do you want to give us, if you want to give us a brief overview of what it is?
When the Spice Girls released their second album, the title track of that album was "Spice Up Your Life," and there's a certain line in that where they go shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Right? It's the same as that. What happens is little tiny Spice Girls, and Jerry Halliwell was still with them at that point, are inside and they're dancing. Now, people think it's magic fairy dust that keep your TM guns going. Trust me, it's not. It is definitely the Spice Girls. Probably not Posh Spice, but the rest of them certainly. And they're in there. What they do is they stamp your gears down perfectly flat, and as a team, as a group of 5, they keep your gears pressed perfectly in the right place. But all it takes is for one of them to leave.
Scary Spice.
Ginger Spice left! Sorry. And it all comes apart. Is that what you meant? No? Okay. Those things?
Well, there you go. I would say there's a new thing to learn there, but sorry.
There you go. Basically, you make sure your gears are nice and spaced. VFC have got a thing, they use little springs instead of shims, and that is why their fucking gears chew themselves up. Basically, you've got to make sure your gears are perfectly spaced away from each other, so they're not touching each other, they're not touching the casing, and so that your top gear is touching the piston absolutely perfectly, and your middle gear is not causing any fuck-ups, and your bottom gear is perfectly in line with your motor gear. And that is basically, you're using those shims just to keep it all level and keep everything in the right place. Sometimes it happens like that. I made a really clickbaity video that says, this is how easy it is to shim. And I did like a really 2 minutes all it took to shim. Ha ha ha. Jesus Christ, the internet went alive with that one. That's not how you shim, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, yeah, I know, but you click like, didn't you fuckers? I put the countdown music in. And it's just make sure that you put the gears in the right place so it's all nicely spaced. And if you over shim it, it goes all noisy. If you under shim it, it breaks. And it is just something you just get the hang of, and you know what you're looking for. But you don't need to spend 4 hours shimming. Generally speaking, you can have a half decent shim job, and your gun will be fine. It just might sound a little bit different to somebody else's gun. You don't have to have perfect shimming, but it does fucking help. The other thing I like to do in my videos to fuck people off is my favorite. You take a gun that's got a ported cylinder, right? Some with a high-speed build or something like that. And what you do is you turn the cylinder around, and the next time they see the gearbox, they see that side of the cylinder. And you see them literally, at 2.5 minutes of the video, they go, "He's got a full cylinder! Fuck!" And they fucking type, and their fingers are split, their fingernails are up in their fucking knuckles, and you're sat there going, fuck you.
That's complete
you
fate without the needing the title. Luke, I'm afraid the hour is already up, but I will say, for anyone who wants to learn more about teching, see some entertaining teching videos, and maybe send a gun or two your way.
A couple of fibs and loads of bullshit. Just to annoy people.
And send a couple of guns your way, hopefully. Where can they find you?
No more yet. 3-week wait. No. What's that one? Correcting AOE with sorbo pads. Oh, they love that one. Oh, God, they loved it with the sorbo pad thing. You must put a sorbo fucking pad in. Why? Why? No, because the gear has to be fucking... Really? So you're saying that every single airsoft manufacturer on the planet, including Tokyo Marui, who invented the fucking gearbox, who invented the gears, the people who make this many trains and this many clocks and watches, you're telling me you know more about gears than they fucking do? Fuck off. No, you don't. Bollocks.
Well, they saw it on a forum. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. Buying guns secondhand on a forum. It's not working very well. It's a simple fix, but I don't have time. Subcontext. Fucked.
So go on in. How can people find you and watch the videos for a very good laugh?
Looking through people's mums' windows. Normally found. Hey, they wouldn't be wearing those little tiny fluffy socks in their fucking kitchen if they would just look, would they? Just go on YouTube. I'm there, being cunted out by people who don't get the joke. And don't take everything I say seriously, please, because we're meant to be having fun, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And Plays at Adventures Battle Lakes. We've got an event this Sunday. Looking for that. We're reasonably cheap. We do free rental packages, and you can get stuff with hot sausage at lunchtime. So that's quite good as well. Got to throw that in there because it's at Adventures.
Absolutely.
That is my baby. Myself and Ben love it very much, and that's it. And hopefully, if you were offended by anything I say, go back to the front door and get your food stamps back. Quoting the great Peter Steele.
Normally it's send hate my way, but I'm glad we were changing that one, or to Jim's way.
No one's noticed the fucking significant fucking similarities between Typo Negative and Negative Airsoft. No one's fucking twigged that yet. Pay attention, fuckers. Jesus Christ. I quote him in every fucking thing. Music died when Peter Steele died, I tell you what. Do you remember Typo Negative, anyone? Somebody put a fucking comment if you remember Typo Negative.
And with that, we are definitely finishing this show. Luke, thank you so much for coming on.
No
Jim,
problem.
Sarah.
I got no work done.
Any closing remarks? Jim, Sarah. Just a toothbrush.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week on Airsoft Radio. Guys and girls, thank you so much for joining in. Luke, thanks so much for coming on. Definitely go check out Battle Lakes or Negative Airsoft on YouTube. Link will be in the description. Thoroughly entertaining and educational all at one time. Until then, next week, I can't even think who we got on the show. So keep an eye out during the week. We'll release that. Thank you once again, Luke. And we'll see you next week on Airsoft Radio. That fucking toothbrush.